This is the project we're going to do today. It's a sympathy card for someone who has lost a pet. Sometimes I like to prepare a test image just to test out the colors and whatnot. This particular one right here I did on some Hammermill color laser gloss paper. It's cheaper than the chrome coat paper that we used for the actual project. And we're going to do the actual project on a 1/4 sheet of chrome coat glossy cardstock, and this is the paper that I'm using. I got this on Amazon. These were the stamps that were used for Stampscapes. This set of trees, these, and these three were all from the Nature Set number 15. The little person walking the dog is Dog Walk number 227A. These two stamps are from the Nature Sheet 6. This one is a Leafy Branch 277F. The mountain, I'm not sure who the manufacturer of that is. It's just a cling stamp that I have in my stash. The small grass is from Art Impressions 4051. And the little tree is also Art Impressions 5010. And for the different sentiments used in this card, these are all from the Sunny Studio Pet Sympathy set. And then these are the different inks and whatnot that were used in this project. And so let's begin. Okay, we're going to start by stamping the mountains, and to space to show where I want to put my 1/4 sheet of chrome coat glossy cardstock, I've just got a acrylic block here that's about 3 inches wide, and then a little piece of thick plastic that's 3/4 of an inch wide, and so that tells me where I need to place this so that I can stamp the mountains. So I'll remove the acrylic block, and I'm going to ink up the mountains. Now to complete the mountains, I want to have it over at this end, but I need to offset it a little bit for the bottom, so I just cut a little piece of thick cardboard so that I can put this along the bottom, because this is about how far I'm going to want to offset to stamp this part of the mountain here. Next I'm going to want to stamp the ground, so I'm using a Misty Creative Corner. Okay, next I'm going to stamp the trees. Okay, put my Creative Corner back in, position this, and we will position the smaller trees. Okay, put my Creative Corner back in, get this positioned. And we'll turn this around and again using Memento Tuxedo Black. Alright, and now I will give this a chance to dry before we start coloring. Okay, and I'm using a 0.1 Copic multi-liner to just add little dots over here where the center area didn't complete, just so that it looks kind of cohesive. Okay, I've made some masks for the mountains. And so we'll put the sun right here. Okay, the first we're going to do is the sky. And I'm going to use some Stampin' Up! Ink. And I'll start with So Saffron. And I'm going to use a small makeup brush that I use for my blending brushes. And so you just tap and just bring in. And I'm going to clean the blending brush in between colors just by rubbing it on a dry microfiber cloth. Okay, next color is going to be Crushed Curry. Okay, next color is going to be Berry Burst. Okay, next color will be Elegant Eggplant. And then Night of Navy. I'll also use my chamois here to wipe off. Okay, I'm going to use the lightest, the So Saffron. Okay, for the mountain I'm going to use some Wisteria Wonder. Okay, now I'm going to use some soft suede. And I'll use a round head, very small brush. Okay, now we're going to go with some Lemon Lime Twist. Okay, now we'll go with some Pear Pizzazz. Okay, now I'm going to switch to my smaller brush. Okay, now we'll go with the Garden Green. And Olive Green. Okay, I'm going to stamp everything back in now. So I'll start with the trees with my Memento Tuxedo Black. Alright, I'm going to use some Stampin' Up! Old Olive and my small grass stamp from Art Impressions. And now I'm going to give everything a chance to dry, and we'll be back in a little bit. Okay, and I'm going to use a rather thick gel pen. This is a Uniball UM153.1. Okay, and now I'm going to highlight the rocky ground here. Okay, now I'm going to use a finer point Uniball. This one is the 120AC.1. Okay, and I'm gonna give this all a chance to dry a little bit, and we'll be back. Okay, I'm gonna add a little more color into the gullies, and so I'm gonna use a Le Plume, a Marvy Le Plume 2. This is a water-based marker, and I'm gonna use number 45 sepia, and I'll use the brush tip. Okay, I want to add some wildflowers, and so I'm going to use the Marvy Le Plume 2 number 55 Iris Purple, and I'm going to use the fine tip of this, and I'll just put random dots in the background. And up closer, I'll use the brush tip. Okay, and I'll also use my Uniball again to add some white wildflowers in the distance. Okay, I want to add a little bit of color to the trees, and so I'm going to use a Marvy Le Plume number 15 olive green, and I'll just use a really light touch of the brush tip. Okay, I want to add some grass back in now. Before, when I was doing it with the olive green, it was mostly just adding some texture into the shadow areas, but now I want to be able to actually show the grass, so I'm going to use some VersaFine Onyx Black ink for this, and I will use my Art Impressions Little Grass again. Okay, I'm going to give everything here now a really good chance to dry. Okay, and I'm going to add some more wildflowers. Okay, I'm going to stamp the trees one more time. Okay, I don't want to stamp here at the bottom where I added the grass, so I'm just going to gently wipe away the ink, and I don't really need this tree either. Okay, I wanted to stamp the trees again so that it kind of evens out where I added the gel pen to the trees. And also, when I inked up the sky, I shouldn't have put the blue with the yellow because it made kind of green. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to make some clouds, and I'm going to use some Hero Arts Unicorn White pigment ink. Okay, and I am going to stamp these trees again. And once again, I'm going to take my stamp chamois and just remove the ink at the bottom of the trees. All right, and I probably shouldn't have added those clouds. It just kind of made green clouds, but oh well. So what I'll do now is I'll take my 0.3 Copic multi-liner and make sure that the tops of the mountains are separated from the clouds. Okay, and I also want to add in the leaves that are coming down this way. All right, and except for the foreground grass, I think we're probably pretty much done. Before I put the foreground grass, I'm going to sign and date it. Okay, none of those worked, so I'm going to try my fine tip black Sharpie. Well, nothing worked very good, but we'll just make do with this. So for the final point, I'm going to use some VersaFine Onyx Black to stamp in my grass. Okay, I'm going to use a Q-tip. I still don't like these clouds. Okay, and we'll stamp these trees one more time. Actually, before we stamp the trees again, I'm going to apply a little bit more of the crushed curry. Actually, I'm going to try some Distress Oxide because I think that will have a better chance of staying on top. The only yellow I've got is Squeezed Lemonade. Well, I'm not sure how well even the Distress Oxide worked, so we'll just try restamping the trees. And I smeared a little bit of the grasses over here, and so I'm going to just put some more back in that corner. Okay, I'm afraid if I try and do any more to this, it's really going to ruin it. And so, well, actually though, I think I do want to stamp these trees, so, or those leaves. So let me do that branch one more time. Okay, I'm going to give this a chance to completely dry. And then I'm going to spray it with my Krylon acrylic coating spray. And then when I'm finished, we'll be back and show you the final result. Okay, and here's the final result after it's been sprayed with the acrylic coating. I also stamped sentiment because I'm actually going to put this on a sympathy card for someone who just lost a pet. And so I stamped this on some black cardstock using some superfine Ranger white embossing powder, and then I cut it out with my Scan and Cut, and then I'm going to apply it to the front of the card once I finish the card. And so it will basically look like this. Okay, I'm going to put this on a piece of black cardstock that is 6 by 4 3/4. Okay, and then I'm going to put this on some cream colored cardstock. I got this from Hobby Lobby, and the size of the card is 6.5 by 5. And I'm going to put some small foam adhesive squares and There you have it. Okay, and I'm also going to use the Sunny Studio stamps, the same Pet Sympathy set, to add a sentiment to the inside of the card. I'm going to use some VersaFine ink because I want to make sure that, since I'm not using a stamp positioner, I want to make sure that it's a nice and I also want to stamp just a single red heart right here. It's from the same stamp set, and I'm using Stampin' Up! Real Red. And I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye!